Greetings, my dear humans, this is Spino. Welcome to my kingdom, and welcome to another installment of Spino Reads, where I read some of the wildest, hottest, and most iconic and bizarre Reddit stories around. Now before we begin, tonight's video is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a first part of a two-part series. I'll be reading a story from Entitled People that comes with a few updates. So what I'll do tonight is read the main story and the first update. Now I have heard that this story has been covered by other channels, but I still want to dive into the situation and see things for myself. So with all of that out of the way, let's begin. Tonight's topic comes from r/Entitled People. Tonight's story is, my brother wanted to propose to his girlfriend at my upcoming wedding. I said no, and all of this happened. I'm making this whole post here because I can't update the original subreddit this all started in, so I'll compile everything here. I, 27 male, will start this off by saying my wedding is scheduled for April because my fiance, 25 female, has always dreamed of a spring wedding. And I really like the idea too. I have an older brother though, 30-year-old male, and last Saturday I was called over to my parents' house to talk about something, but they refused to tell me what until I got there. They then sat me down with my brother and told me that my brother wants to use my wedding as the perfect day for him to propose to his girlfriend. I was instantly mad and told them absolutely not, but they ganged up on me. I ended up so enraged to the point that I, one man, somehow backed all three of them into a corner. I told them that if they want to do this, then not only will they all be uninvited, but I'll also cut off the financial support I've been giving monthly since they paid to have my golden child brother to go through college by taking out a second mortgage. I landed a decently high-paying job and have been sending $500 to my parents monthly to help ease their mortgage, and I didn't ask for a stake in the ownership of their house either, because I really don't want it. It was entirely goodwill, and I can cut it off anytime. I left without speaking anything more to them, but my brother came to my house the next day to yell at me that I ruined his big chance because now our parents are siding with me and say they'll evict him if he tries to propose at my wedding. He said I was financially blackmailing our parents and that he just wanted a good chance to propose because he was afraid his girlfriend might leave him soon. I said that was his problem, not mine, because my wedding day is not about him, and if he tries to propose at my wedding, I will have him thrown out. That's not a maybe, but a definite. And I doubt his girlfriend would appreciate her proposal followed up with being tossed out by a bouncer. He yelled a few choice words at me, then went crying to our only surviving grandparent, our maternal grandmother, and she called to try and ream me over the phone. No surprise, my brother heavily embellished the version of the story he told her, but she still sided with him after I gave her the real story. She tried to hold her ground, but the verbal backlash I ended up giving her left her crying. That got back to my parents, who were pissed at me for taking things so far, but I told them I only went that far because I had to, when they were all trying to get me to let my brother use my wedding as his springboard for a proposal. They ended up agreeing with me, but still stated they feel like I'm crass. And my brother showed up at my house again to scream at me that I'm an asshole, and I hope I'm happy with myself for not allowing him the opportunity. My fiance knows what my brother tried to do, and she's very angry about it. She's almost ready to have him uninvited if he pursues this any further. Normally I have a very mild temper, but when it comes to certain people like my brother, parents, and grandmother, I could easily get short with them because of all the past favoritism. My grandmother especially, she always sided with my brother and believed his lies no matter what he did. She's the biggest reason my parents favored my brother too. She kept trying to convince me over the phone to let my brother propose at my wedding that I ended up losing it on her. I ended up speaking with my brother again and threatened to tell his girlfriend if he was still intending to propose at my wedding without permission. He took it poorly and called me an awful person, so I pointed out that my wedding isn't about him. Our parents were there for this, and they backed me up. I think my brother did a double take when they did that. My dad pointed out that he'd raised my brother wrong, and that was on him. So from now on, my brother was to show them real respect, and they wanted to get an official lease drawn up for him to pay proper rent and utilities. He was only paying them $300 a month without contributing to any utilities or food, and if he doesn't want to pay, he can move out, and they'll rent his room to someone else. My brother turned to our mom for help, but she just agreed with dad. He looked like he was having a conniption and then left the house. He came back a couple of hours later, but spoke to no one and locked himself in his room. 2 days later, my brother announced he was moving in with grandma because she invited him, and our parents basically told him that if he wants to live with her, then to go ahead. My brother responded to this by saying we all hate him for just wanting to propose to his girlfriend. My parents pointed out that it's not that he wanted to propose, but where he wanted to do it, and he'd get no support for it. He's refusing to talk to our parents now. My grandmother did try to call me again, but it ended up with me telling her that my brother will not be allowed to propose at my wedding, plain and simple, so he can get over it or not come. And the same goes for her. I ended up calling her out on her favoritism towards my brother since we were kids, which she tried to deny at first, but couldn't keep doing so because of how much I'd pointed out. She ended up crying again while I told her that if she keeps trying to insist on this, then she won't be coming to my wedding. She'd begged me not to rescind her invite, but still said she doesn't understand why I couldn't let my brother have his way before ending the call. My fiance is 100% on my side and is ready to remove my brother and grandmother from the wedding. My grandmother hasn't called again, and she's not talking to my parents either. My guess is my brother went crying to her again to tell her mommy and daddy weren't enabling him anymore, so she offered him to move in with her, but there's literally nothing she can do to sway me, and I think my last conversation with her made her realize that. I didn't wish to tell my brother's girlfriend, but she called me up on Saturday about my Reddit post. She saw it in an online video and then realized it might be me with the way I described my brother and grandmother. So yeah, she knows now. She ended up tearing my brother a new asshole, and he still tried to justify himself to her, and that's when she told him they were through and cut all contact with him. My brother of course blamed me, even though his girlfriend said that she's been ready to leave him for a while now, and if he tried to propose no matter where, she'd have told him no. So that's it. My brother showed up at my place one more time to have a fit and said he is boycotting my wedding. He actually thought he had leverage that he and grandma won't go. I said I wouldn't miss him and that he's in his 30s now and needs to grow up. Our parents have cut the umbilical and are no longer supporting him, and they're already repainting his room to rent it to someone else. And they plan on renting out my old bedroom as well because they need the money after the financial hole he left them in after dropping out of college, and just to mooch off them for a while and then get a degree with online college later, and then barely paying any rent while also making them pay for his food and utilities despite having a good paying job. They spent the world on him and he wasn't the least bit grateful. That made my brother just shut down and leave, and since then we've not heard a peep out of him. That's everything that's happened from my original post up until now. Edit. Yes, I have very good security hired for the wedding, and they'll toss my brother out like bouncers in a heartbeat. Okay, so before we get into the first update, I just want to say a few things. OP, your brother is a spoiled ass. I said this in a previous video. It's never ever okay to propose at someone's wedding at all. You should always do it whenever you're ready. And your brother clearly wasn't. I'd say he's not ready to be a man with those tantrums. And your parents and grandmother are horrible. But at least the parents understood their stupid decisions. But they should have been wiser than that to allow OP's brother to propose at his wedding. Especially that witch of a grandmother. What's sad is that she's been like this ever since they were children. I've said this in the last video, but I'll say it again. Don't play favorites, especially when it comes to your children. Good on you, OP, for standing your ground, along with your fiancé. I'd say uninvite everyone from your wedding, because who's to say they might not do anything ignorant. OP posted an update to this story, so let's take a look. Well, my brother and grandma are officially uninvited for my upcoming wedding. My grandma called me again to berate me even more for refusing to let my brother propose. Apparently he's beside himself with grief over his ex. Yeah, so beside himself with grief that he's already on Tinder looking for a date, or so his social media says. Which I pointed out to grandma. She claimed that was just his way of coping. I said I didn't care. He's no longer invited to my wedding because I can't trust that he won't do something crazy if he's there. Then she gave me her classic line of, "I don't understand why." That's what she always says when I don't do something for my brother after he screwed me over. For example, I once gave my brother a loan back when he was doing online college. He didn't want to repay it despite promising he would. Even after getting a good job, he hemmed and hawed about it when I wanted him to pay me back. He had the money, he just doesn't want to give it up. So I said I was never going to loan him money again, and grandma gave her classic line of not understanding why, even when I told her it was because I knew my brother would never want to repay me, so he's not gonna get another penny. Her response was to say she still doesn't understand, so just hearing her say that about the issue of my brother being banned from my wedding made me lose it. I yelled at her that she does understand, she just acts like she doesn't because she doesn't want to. She's always been on my brother's side no matter what he did, and because of that she's no longer invited to my wedding either, and I don't care if she cries because I'm just plain done with her. She made her bed with the side she chose, now she can live with it. Of course she exploded in tears, crying like a sad whale and called me a bad grandson. I say she was a bad grandma for thinking I'm the bad grandson, when she always believed my brother's lies and played favorites. Everyone else knew it too, and I'm sick of her pretending everything was rosy when she used to beat my ass and tell me I'd be a bad boy if I told my parents she spanked me. I then told her to not call me again unless it was to admit the truth and give me a genuine apology, and then I ended the call. It went right back to radio silent from her. I preemptively told my parents about what happened, and their response was that they don't care I yelled at her anymore because she's never going to stop siding with my brother no matter what. My parents are actually doing so much better since my brother moved out. They've got 2 rooms ready to rent out and on the market waiting for a tenant. My dad is also working on cleaning out the attic to make another room up there for someone to rent. They're basically turning as many rooms in their house as they can into livable spaces. They're gonna need that rent money to pay off their debts, and they're still thanking me a lot for helping them with the money I've been sending monthly. My parents sat me down a while ago and apologized heavily for everything that went on from my childhood till now. They said they can offer no good excuse as to why my brother was the favorite when they shouldn't have been playing favorites at all, and that what they did was completely unacceptable, and the fact that I was still willing to help them out even after everything they'd done made them realize how horrible they were as parents, and from now on they'll do their best to be better people. They basically stopped caring about what my brother and grandma think too. They haven't been talking to them either. I've heard nothing from my brother's ex. She wants nothing more to do with my family, and I don't blame her. My fiance is super happy about me standing my ground because she wanted my brother and grandmother out much sooner. Then she admitted something to me I never knew. Apparently the few times she was alone with my grandma, she was told all sorts of lies about me that my fiance never once believed. She couldn't recall much, but basically grandma said a number of things that I remember my brother did that were pinned on me. But the gist of it is that my grandma was trying to tell my fiance that I was a bad egg as a child, and that she better watch me closely in case she decided not to marry me. So yeah, grandma was trying to poison the well with more lies. One story my fiance remembered my grandma talking about was the one I knew right away. It was the story about the broken lamp. My grandma used to have a beautiful handcrafted stained glass lamp. My brother threw a football in the house straight at it and the lamp fell and broke. It was old and frail, so it basically shattered. My brother said that I was throwing a football in the house and that he tried to stop me, but it was actually the other way around. My grandma refused to believe me and spanked me bare bottom with a wooden spoon. My grandpa knew my brother was lying and even told my parents. So my brother was grounded and I was told that I didn't have to visit grandma anymore if I didn't want to, and after my grandpa passed away, I stopped going. The fact that old hag was still talking about that stuff to people like my fiance when I'm not around infuriates me. So I'm beyond glad that I've cut the tumors that are my brother and grandmother out of my life. I don't need them anymore. Tumors indeed, OP, especially the grandmother. She dared abuse you for the things you didn't do and lied about it to others. She's an evil individual and someone who shouldn't be in your life. And your parents are on the right steps to redeem themselves, but they still shouldn't have been playing favorites over the years. They're the reason why some people shouldn't have children if they're unable to take care of 2 kids or more instead of caring for one child and not the other. Again, well done for standing your ground and making your fiance proud. But I'm afraid things are about to get crazy from here on out when I read the next updates, but that can wait until next time. And that should do it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed this evening's installment of Spino Reads, and if you have, please like, share, and subscribe, and click on the bell to be notified for future videos. Have any stories about entitled people you want to share? Post them in the comments below. I'll be looking forward to reading them. Thank you for watching, and until we meet again, my dear humans, farewell.